Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. We've just finished the Crusader and Tumble Day at IAE, and it's given me an opportunity to take out 2 new Tumble Storms to answer some questions that I have been having over these 2 Light Scout tanks. And the first thing to clarify is that they are different levels of new. The Laser Cannon Storm was given its debut earlier this year, so the show special on it comes with 120-month insurance. The Storm AA is being debuted this week, so the show special includes lifetime insurance. There doesn't seem to be a Warbond upgrade offer on either craft, so those of you looking to insert it into your CCU chains will likely see little reason to do so. So let's get in one and see what the experience is. Entering into the driver's seat, you're looking out a very narrow slit of a window. But you aren't. It's clear from the startup and shutdown sequence that this is supposed to be a virtual display like on the Talon, Shrike, and Prowler, which is fine if vulnerable to disruption to ECM. But if this is a virtual display, why does it have to be so constrained? Go to Costco and buy a bigger screen for the thing. But in reality, you aren't going to be spending much time in the cockpit view. You're going to pretty much right away be activating and extending the turret and go into turret view. Unlike the 2-seat ballista, you can be both driving and shooting at the same time in the Storm. If I was setting this up on my dual stick system, I would put the driving movement on my left stick and the turret movement on my right, and it would work quite well, I think. But it also works pretty well in mouse and keyboard too. However, the range of motion is very different in the 2 turret views. In the Laser Turret Storm, your camera is tied to the gun, and so you have full lateral rotation, but only about 40 degrees of inclination, leaving you with a vulnerability from straight above. With the Storm AA, you have no lateral movement other than by moving the vehicle itself, but your vertical inclination extends to straight vertical, even though the missile turret doesn't tilt at all. The reason is that you are setting the aiming point for the guidance system of the missiles. But if that's the case, wouldn't the missile's guidance system also be able to aim a bit to the sides too? There is a lot of other little head-scratching discontinuities with the Storm, not the least of which is that it bounces around like it was made of paper mache and not of carbon steel. I could perhaps excuse a little of that on a very low gravity planet, but this is microtech. I have observed the same lack of apparent mass under other current vehicle physics. On the Cyclone or Ursa, it was a little bit silly, but on tank, even a scout tank, it's downright absurd. I was able, with the help of an unexpected volunteer, to fit 3 easily in a C2, and may well have had room for a 4th as well. If you park them too close to the front or the back, it is possible to crawl underneath them. So we took these 3 craft outside of any armistice zone, mostly because I wanted to answer a question. Could the Storm AA be used on extended deployments? In other words, after you've exhausted your 16 size 2 and 64 size 1 missiles, which, since you can salvo as many as 8 at a time, can be done faster than you think, can you bring out additional missiles and reload, as we have increasingly been able to do with our ships? And what I found was I could pull the missiles from their tubes, but trying to put one back in proved to be beyond my ability. This is not surprising, as we have seen similar difficulties with other ships with internal missile tubes. So this brings me to perhaps the most essential question. How well can it protect your ground operation from being wiped out? Could it, for example, stop a Hercules A2 from ruining your whole day? Well, I don't have an A2 with me, but I have a C2. But let's have this C2 function as a less armored stand-in. So I got 14 size 2 missiles left after my failed reloading attempt. So let's just unload them as fast as possible at the C2 dumbfire at point-blank range and see what happens, with my compatriot throwing in a few size 3 laser blasts just for good measure. And well, we banged it up quite a bit, but it is clear that if we had to include lock-on time between each salvo, which we would have had to do in any reasonable use case, unless you have multiple of them, the best way to survive against an A2 as a solo Storm AA is to try to use the speed to get out of the blast zone. Don't be melting that Anvil Ballista just yet. The Storm AA should be able to handle air defense against a limited number of small to medium ships, but you'll be needing multiples to stop a large or heavily armed ship. Now, when we get Maelstrom working in the game, the Storm will be a great mayhem maker, and maybe if you have to take out a couple of turrets. And if you're looking for a vehicle versus vehicle engagement against Novas and other Ballista, Spartan, etc. vehicles, the combination of speed and maneuverability might prevail against larger and slower armor. But if you're looking for versatility and anti-personnel capabilities, the S3 gun is overpowered for just killing infantry, and something like an Ursa will let you deploy troops and carrying away packages and loot and deploy from a greater range of craft. Which brings me to a meta level of strategic discussion regarding armored ground vehicles as a class. And that is, are they really the best way to provide ground support? Are you better off spending the same amount of money and personnel on close air support craft such as the Avengers or Cutlass Black? They self-deploy, self-service, can easily return for supplies or be rearmed, and are more maneuverable and have a greater operational flexibility. Maybe there are some very unique situations where they might be better to have ground armor, but I'm looking at an orc fleet from a strategic posture. There might be a lot of reasons just to not go the land-bound armored cavalry route. If they made the Storm a hover tank of a size closer to the Ursa, I'd be a lot more favorably disposed towards it. Now for an update on our giveaways, we're at the final days of our IAE week giveaway for the winner's choice of the Galaxy Complete, the massive modular mining moving medical machine, or the brand new big box bargain bazaar known as the Merchantman. Just be a member and be entered automatically, or subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the ship I was using my C2 as a stand-in for. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Ray's Guide.